G'day ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of SuperCoach Edge and of course another edition of Damo's Team Talk coming out of round 9 and geez, what a round for a whole multitude of reasons personally, but also league-wide. It was a very, very high-scoring round, which is virtually the polar opposite to what it was like last week when there was a lot of havoc, guys getting sub, starting sub, guys getting played when they probably shouldn't have been, in the case of Rosie, guys getting injured, and so on and so forth. So it was a very, very interesting round this time around. Of course, before we kick things off, as we always do, if you could give us a sub and give us a like, that would be absolutely fantastic if you're watching us on YouTube. If you are listening to us via the audio podcast, as I switch across here on screen, if you can give us a rating, that would be absolutely fantastic. As you can see here, if you're watching us on YouTube as well, you can do so. Just search up SuperCoach Edge via Spotify or iTunes, Apple iTunes of course, and you can give us a nice little rating there, which does just help us in terms of getting our little humble podcast a little bit more exposure. So that'd be absolutely fantastic. But without further ado, boo-boo, let's have a look at how we performed. So ended up scoring 2,417 and was an absolutely fantastic round, and I'll go into detail as to why that is, and I'll probably surprise you. But ended up, in terms of season rank, you'd probably say that I probably could be happier with the way that things sit, considering I did only go up in rank 158 spots to now sit ranked 2,780th overall. However, there is good reason. I am absolutely stoked for this. Just the fact that I'm actually going up this week is incredible. And team value, as you can see there, 13,323,100. So yeah, looking pretty good there. So let's delve into our team and have a look at how we performed across the board. So yeah, as you can see there, ended up winning 9 out of my 12 league matchups. Again, incredible. Now let me give you a bit of context as to why I am so happy with this score. I know we've seen some pretty big scores as well above and beyond this. However, let's give it a little bit of context. So for those people that tuned into my team talk, you mightn't have had really much of an insight, because at that stage, I mean, there was whispers coming through that Sweet may be missing round 9. But it wasn't yet confirmed. So I was still looking at that stage to bring in Luke Ryan, who was kind of my target. Was initially looking at Butters, but of course, Luke Ryan just smashed out that 197 or whatever it was, and Butters had a bit of a subpar game, and it meant that I flipped sort of that planning on its head and opted to get Ryan, or at least planning to get him heading into round 9. So obviously with news filtering through that Sweet and confirmation that he was going to miss round 9 due to illness, I planned to, as I said, bring in Ryan to complete my defense, but not having R2 cover with my R3 in Naismith being dropped by Richmond, I was given the decision really to go down a couple of different paths. So the first one was to trade Naismith to a dual position player, or a non-playing player in this case in Livingston, of course, as a forward ruck. And that would have allowed me to swing Jackson, who's in my forward line, into R2. And then I'd be forced in that case to play a rookie on field up forward. That was the first option. That option as well would have allowed me to bring in Ryan, but it would have meant that I miss out on the hot rookie in Darcy Jones from the Giants, and having no cash in the bank, of course, to afford Butters heading into round 10 like I'd planned. Over the previous few weeks, you may have heard that I was planning to get, which I have done across the journey, Merritt, Ryan and Butters. So I ticked off Merritt the other week, Ryan was this week, and then Butters was this coming round heading into round 10. So this sort of would have thrown out my plan with that, would have left me with no bank, and it would have really, I guess, disrupted, my trade cadence. So upgrading every single week, despite the fact that I've only got 2 trades. So the other option was bringing in Livingston via Naismith and upgrading say Roberts to English, which obviously would have been a nice little upgrade. Wouldn't have worried about rucks from here on out, but that would have used up again all of my bank and meant that I would have alternatively probably been in a worse spot because I would have missed out on Ryan and would have ruined my trading cadence again, the upgrade cadence that I'll talk about for next week when I plan to grab Butters. The third option was actually the one that I took, which some people might have thought it's a little bit of a silly one, because it would have meant, and it did mean, because it's the one that I did adopt, I guess in terms of strategically preserving my team's upgrade plans and being able to afford Butters next week, it meant that I gobbled the sweet donut from Sweet himself, which also allowed me to proceed with my original trade plans, as I said, with downgrading Roberts to Darcy Jones through DPP, of course, and then also upgrading Williams to Ryan. But most importantly, this option preserved my upgrade cadence and allowed me to have 140k in the bank, actually 146.9 to be exact, in the bank to grab Butters next week with 2 trades. But it obviously meant that I would need to rely on others in my team to step up and exceed their predictions in order to help cover the donut from Sweet. Well, did they ever? As you can see here on screen if you're watching us on YouTube. So 15 of my players scored tons, with 5 others scoring between 80 and 90 points. And Harley Reid was my lowest scorer with 59. But get this, best of all, Ryan scored 24 points more than English in comparing those 2 big sliding door trade scenarios. So all in all, it was a very, very big gamble, but it obviously paid off in this case. Wouldn't always pay off. I mean, I could have had, we could have had the a similar week to what we had last week when we had guys performing across the board, rookies, primos, the works. But yeah, in this case, I was very lucky, timed it well, and was an incredible effort from the boys. So what I was kind of working or looking to do in this case, despite the fact that I was playing virtually with 21 men, I was really looking for primos to step up and really nail my captaincy or VC in this case as well, just to sort of make up that difference. So if I did go down the second option, I think it was there, where I would have brought in Livingston and then switched Jackson into my R2 position, it would have meant that I would have played a rookie off the bench, which would have been in this case Riley Garcia, which as you can see here, he actually scored quite well. I was banking on him scoring between 40 and 60 points. He exceeded that and scored an 84. So my, points for this round actually could have been better if I went down that route. But as I said, if I went down that path, I would have been able to get Ryan, but I wouldn't have had the money to bring in a Butters this week. So I think sacrificing the 84 points in this case, because it would have meant I would have scored 2501, I think it was. So I would have hit the 2500 mark if I had Garcia playing. But the way I look at it as well, and it's probably a good thing to do, is obviously I missed out on 84 points by copying that 0. What it does mean is what we're at round 10 now. So another, 24 rounds? So 15 rounds. What you do is you go 84 divided by 15, and it's 5.6 points that I need to make up across the remaining 15 rounds in order to make up those 84 points that I missed out on. So given that, I think it's a pretty good payoff in terms of having money in the bank, and it does mean that, as I said, brought in Ryan, I can bring in Butters this week, and the most pleasing thing is it actually completes my defense and my midfield. So if we're looking at our team, I guess in quadrants, it means that 2 of the 4 positions in my team, they are locked and loaded. So half of my team is virtually done. So I'm in a very, very nice position, and I'm very happy. And that provides a bit of context as to why I'm so happy that I've held ground in rank, first and foremost, and was able to score well enough. So 2,400 from 21 players is just incredible. So tip of the cap to all of my boys, I'll call them, in my team. Absolutely incredible effort. So yeah, as I said, best yet, this move in, having to gobble that sweet donut, and it was sweet, it's going to allow me to bring in Butters this round and complete my defense and midfield with, as you can see here, I'll just have R2, F4, F5, and F6 left to upgrade. So literally 4 spots. So let's have a look in terms of those guys that performed well. We'll quickly go through that because we kind of summarized it quite nicely, gave it some context, and yeah, in terms of what we've done. So let's have a quick look. I think I've already gone through the trades. Yep, as you can see there, ended up going Roberts to Jones and Williams to Darcy Jones, that is, and Williams to Ryan. And the previous week, the upgrade was Merritt. So I've gone Merritt, Ryan. This week's going to be Butters, continuing that trade upgrade cadence, which is very, very crucial in order to, I guess, stay ahead of the pack, but also catch up on those teams that are ahead of you in the ranks. So yeah, if you're not doing that, you're kind of falling behind. But at the same time, you also need to be thinking about the buys. This is the time to really start thinking about the buys. So let's have a quick look and go through my team ever so quickly, and then we'll jump into obviously that trade, how my team will look, and then planning around VCC, and then projecting forward beyond this week, heading into next week, who we're targeting, what we're looking to do, all that side of things. Anyway, let's have a look at the defense. So Luke Ryan was the absolute seagull yet again. He was the big recruit. Didn't look too good early on, I must say, because I think he ended up getting to around about 80 odd or thereabouts at 3/4 time. And we're like, last quarter, he might eke out, 10, 15 points. It might fall shy of 100. Actually, it might have been less than 80, but he wasn't looking good. And as we know, Luke Ryan, he's the ultimate seagull nowadays. He's taken over from Jakey Lloyd. Loves them chips. He was, I reckon, flying around the stadium, just stealing chips out of people's hands. Such was his, I guess, taste and thirst and hunger for the footy. So ended up scoring a 111 in the end and just burst home, despite the fact that Freo ended up getting smashed by, 9 goals or something from Sydney. Which again called into question. We spoke about it on Twitter. You would have seen so many people tweeting about it, the scoring system and how it rewards, I guess, these loose defenders. So it just works so well with him, kicking long 40+ meter kicks to contests, even if it results in a 0-0 draw. It's an effective kick and so on and so forth. Intercept marking. So he's a really, solid. Part of my defense. So, yeah, happy with that 111 on debut. Keeping in mind, of course, that he faces St Kilda this week, who we know concede the most points to opposition defenders. So I am licking my lips at that prospect. Next up, we have Nicky Dacos, and of course, 147, as you would have heard in the last week's team talk, but also in the weekly episode proper, when I went through I am the captain now, you would have heard me talk about Bont and Nicky Dacos. They were my two preferred options. Bont was my top VC option. Nicky Dacos, he was my top captaincy option, obviously playing last in the round. But as it turned out, with this dumbass fixturing from the AFL, of course, no surprise, they do it all the time. They actually played the Gold Coast North game and the Bulldogs Richmond game at the exact same time. So I was actually planning to have Will Graham as my loophole option. Couldn't do it, obviously, with both of those games starting at the same time. So I was like, stuff it. I'm just going to throw the dart at Bont. I'm confident that he's going to score well enough. Could opt to go for Dacos, obviously facing West Coast, but I was confident with Bont and his history against the Tigs absolutely towed them up, which is what he did. Just jumping across to Bont. So he ended up scoring 135 as a straight-out C, not being able to use a loophole. Nicky Dacos scored an extra 12 points, so it is what it is, really. So not too unhappy with that. But Nicky Dacos, if you don't have him, get him in your team. Spoke about it in recent weeks. Majority of the competition already have him, but if you don't, get him in. He's in 76% of teams, should be in 100% of teams. As you can see, over the past 4 weeks, the past month, he scored 133, 128, 150, and 147 after a relatively slow start to the season. Had a little bit of a drop off between rounds 2, 3, and 4 heading into his bye. But since his bye, he's come out and absolutely smashed it. So make sure you get him in your team. Next up, we have Nicky Martin, down on projections. As you can see here, he was my flyer as the VC. I need to put the VC on someone. Wasn't overly confident that he was going to score well against the Giants, but ended up doing that. Harry Sheasel scored an 86 as well. Again, he played bulk time in the midfield, as has been happening over the past three weeks at least now. Let's just venture across to DFS Australia and see if they have updated the CBAs, and we'll see how he fared on the weekend. And they have. So Sheasel actually dropped off in terms of CBAs, which is at least promising. Started with 14% in round 7, 45% in round 8, and then on the weekend that actually dropped down to 29%. So not too bad with regards to that. Probably helped that Will Phillips came into the team, had 46% CBAs, and I think he had a tagging role on Matty Rowell, and also Liam Shields had 21% CBAs after not having any to date across the season. So yeah, that's probably Something that we need to monitor with Sheasel. We know with McCurch coming back to the team, he's absolutely smashing it in defence, getting a bit of solo time there, but at least promising signs that Sheasel isn't, I guess, having his CBAs upped, and we might see him sort of be balanced between defence and in the midfield. But nonetheless, I think Sheasel isn't someone that we need to worry about as yet. Just continue on upgrading your team because he is highly owned, obviously, Sheasel, and if he has a little bit of a down week like he did on the weekend, it's going to hurt you, but also everyone else as well. So don't stress as yet, and continue upgrading, getting those rookies off field, which is paramount. Next up, we have Tommy Stewart, 84, and not the best. I mean, the Cats obviously they weren't up to full scratch on the weekend. Losing to Port Adelaide, they left their run late. Relatively tough matchup as well, despite the fact that it was at GMHBA. But Stewart, 84, I'm confident that he's going to be around about that sort of top 6 mark. I don't think he's going to be a top 3, top 4. But yeah, it is what it is. High ownership, should be going up at his current price point, which is value. Rounding us out is Wanganeen Millera, and he actually scored a 113. Actually, I think that might be his up there with his highest score for the season. Actually, 120 was his high score thus far, but over his past couple of weeks, he scored 115 and 113. Keep in mind, though, that he has played North Melbourne and Hawthorn, but nonetheless, he's now actually gone into positive territory with his price point. He's gone up 22.1k across the season, and is a touch under 500k. So I might look to sort of use him as a luxury upgrade down the line, but at this stage, I think I'm not too worried about him. I am a little bit worried with regards to his ceiling scores. It looks as though he's not sort of having the ceiling that I was hoping for, but is what it is, and can't be too happy. As long as he is punching out scores at 100 and above, I am very, very happy. Will Graham obviously dropped. He was on my bench. Likewise, Zach Reed, who by all reports actually played quite well in the VFL, so could be in line for a return for the Dons, which for me, I'd probably much prefer to have him just out, just so I can continue using him as a bit of a loophole option there to loop on a score off the bench if need be. Moving into the midfield, and of course we have Sarong, 150, high scorer for us across the round, and he has been one of my best upgrades in terms of targeting primos thus far, unless of course Lukey Ryan wants to smash out a 200 plus score this coming weekend. I'll welcome that gladly. But as you can see here, so I brought in Sarong in heading into round 6 against the Eagles. Had a bit of a down game on debut for me, but ever since then, he scored 140, 137 and a 150 and faces St Kilda this weekend. So he's gone up another 29k on the weekend, and he's gone up to a price point of 668.6k, which is 47k above his starting price. So he's, over the past couple of weeks at least, his ownership's actually gone up 8%. Should be much, much more than that, considering that he does have the favourable bye, where he's going to be unavailable on that bye week alongside players from Port Adelaide. But aside from that, he's going to be available for those really, really, I guess, annoyingly bad late bye rounds around 14 and 15, I think it is. So he's going to be very, very valuable for that. So if you can target someone, you should have been targeting Sarong. He's at a very, very high price point now. Might be hard to get him in, but I mean, people have been targeting Luke Ryan as well, who is around about that price point as well. Bontempelli, 135, as I said, for someone that is a complete pig. He's just complete quality when it comes to SuperCoach and footy in general, of course. But with Bont, he went up 11.2k off the back of the 135 that he scored. He's still down on his starting price by the tune of 90.3k. So if you somehow don't own Bontempelli, target him, get him in. He is just someone that's starting to hit his straps now and is just absolutely incredible. You can rely on him every single week. Captaincy scores, as you can see, and he scored 142 and 135 over the past couple of weeks in easier matchups against the Hawks and the Tigs. But yeah, he's someone that you want in your team. Zach Merritt had a bit of a down game, 101. Went down in price to the tune of 6.2k, has gone down 19.5k. So if you're in the market for someone, I'd be going and grabbing this guy probably more than Bont even, and probably Sarong as well, just because he is now at a relatively cheap price point. But get this, so he actually hasn't dropped below 100 in score all season. Despite that, as I said, he's down 19.5k on his starting price point. But get this right. His fixture over the next 3 rounds is North Melbourne, Richmond, and Gold Coast. So just absolutely incredible run of games to come, which, as you know, North give up fair few points. Richmond give up bulk points, as we saw with Bontempelli on the weekend, and Gold Coast as well, another struggling team. Then they faced Carlton, and then the Dons faced West Coast in round 15. So the next at least 4 of their 5 games to follow, Merritt should be eclipsing his starting price, but also I reckon he'll get up to where Sarong is at the moment, where he's around about 660, 670, because I'm expecting him to go absolutely bananas. So if you don't have Merritt, target him first and foremost. Moving on to the Tookie man, the running man, Took Train, scored a 122, and he's actually 56.6k above his starting price now. He's eked up across the 600k mark, and I still can't believe there were people on Twitter, Tim Mitchell, not looking at you, mate, but I know he was definitely one, but there were a few people that were kind of a little bit worried about his fluctuating scores, and I can sort of understand that because he has been scoring down, up, down, up, down, up. And that's been 89, 133, 88, 149, 93, and 122 since round 4. So I can understand that, but with these scores that he's been having that have been out of the box, they've been really, really high ceiling scores. As we know, the Took can produce 133, 149, and 122. So that kind of makes up that difference, that shortfall in those alternating weeks where he's scoring below 100. So I think when we average it out, as you can see here, he's averaging 115.8 I think he should be in the top 6 scorers for mids. Where is he? Just have a look. Actually, no, he's 9th. So he's fallen a bit. He's slipped away a bit. But yeah, I think he's going to be a top 8 mid. So he's just outside that marker. And yeah, I think he's incredible value. And super happy that I started with him. Next up, we have Sammy Walsh, 119. I think he was pretty hardly done by in terms of his scoring by Champion Data. I don't know if you tuning in actually caught the game against the D's, but he was absolutely incredible in the first quarter, especially when Carlton went out to that, 6 goals to nil, and he was kicking goals, he was everywhere, and he was just at the top of his game. Should have been, I guess, scored more than what he was, but also in the scaling at the end of the game, he actually lost points, which is incredible because first and foremost, Carlton won the game. He was the one who set up that win early in the game. So if anything, he should have been scaled points upwards. But again, we could talk about the scoring system for hours on end, but probably no use. But to score as well as he did, 119, very, very happy with that. Bounce back is his 3rd high score for the season. Now scored a 166, 130, 104, 91, and a 119. And yeah, he is the absolute goods. Ended up having, 34 disposals, 3 marks, 11 tackles, 1 goal, 1. The really good thing about his game nowadays, compared to last year, I think especially, is the fact that he is tackling like a madman. I know his marks really haven't been up there in comparison to the number of disposals he's getting, but his tackle numbers is something that he has increased across the journey. And as we all know, tackle numbers, any player that loves a cuddle, like a Steele, like a Took Miller, like a Matty Rowell, like a Sammy Walsh, they are welcome in our team. Did I say Jackie Steele? Yeah, but just incredible. Builds a really nice high floor scoring base, and yeah, that is super, super valuable in SuperCoach. Speaking of guys who like to cuddle, of course, Jack Steele ended up scoring 122, and for those people that traded him out after the other week when he has played with some strapping around his knee, would be kicking themselves because, and there was actually 1.7% of actually no, count it from there from round 6. So what's that? 1.8 coaches actually got rid of him. And since that time, where he scored an 84 and a 70 in round 6 and 7, he scored 112 and 122. Of course, he's played North Melbourne and Hawthorn, but you'll take that every single day of the week. And the fact also that he's played without strapping around his knee, which is a massive, massive positive. So again, Jackie Steele, love the bloke. He's just an absolute joy to watch. He's ranked 10th for the highest scoring mids to date, and I think that'll only climb. So super happy with him. Tommy Green, speaking of guys that I'm happy with, and we all would be as owners as well, there was a bit of an injury cloud with him. Rolled his ankle quite badly, actually, the previous week. And what an absolute machine. What a green machine. The Hulk, we call him, for good reason, because he ended up facing the Dons on the weekend, which is incredible. And not just that, but actually scored a 116, which is probably more than what most of us would have expected him to, considering his ankle was quite blown up. And yeah, it would have been playing through a little bit of discomfort and pain, you would imagine as well. So tip of the old cap to you, the Hulk. So love you, Tommy Green. Also had Closey. So Closey was my M8 at this stage. Ended up scoring back to what he scored in his first couple of games with a 105. That really high ceiling, or high floor in this case, you could probably say. You know, he's had a couple of 3 down games. So he started with 108, 124. Then he ended up punching out scores of 75, 65, and a 43. So it was declining over the previous 3 weeks. And then he's gone bang. So this is what we talk about every single week when we talk about matchups. And some people actually got rid of him. Not too many. Good to see. But I imagine some people would have benched him off the back of those 3 weeks. But we'll get into matchups in a little bit, I guess in a moment, because there's a guy in our forward line that we spoke about, and you might have seen us put a bit of a meme together on TikTok and Twitter and whatnot, where, you know, if you're considering trading guys out or benching guys, you really need to be paying close attention as to who they're facing. It's not a hard and fast rule, because it's not 100% effective, as annoying as it is, but the numbers can really lead you to, you know, I guess, work out if there is going to be an exploitation with the, you know, I guess the opponent that they're going to be facing on the given week. So faced obviously North Melbourne and gave up a fair few points. In this case here, 105 to Closey, and has kick-started his cash generation again after, I guess, you know, looking down the barrel of potentially losing some money or not really making much, and then his break-even being quite high heading into round 10. So in this case here, went up 21.7k, has made us now over 210.7k in total, which again, as I always say, the 100k mark is kind of the tick. 150k is like, you know, really, really incredible, surpass the mark. Over the 200k mark is just hands down among the best cash cows that you can get on. So now at the moment, his break even is 30 heading into round 10. And then if you can score an 82 over the next couple of weeks, his break even will go down to 5, and he'll actually go up 50k over the next 2 weeks, which will mean that he'll go up, 260k so in total. So he's really going to be someone that is crucial to use as a bit of a stepping stone or a springboard to a genuine keeper. So really, really happy with the man is Closey, the Hills Hoist, as we call him here, of course. Looking at the bench, we had Hugo Garcia, 65 for the Saints. Looked really good, and yeah, happy with that. Ticking over his scoring and I guess his price quite nicely, and has a break even of 1 heading into round 10, and could make us another 30, 40k, could be even more than that, but has already made us 97.8k, so has almost hit the illustrious 100k mark. So going great guns is Hugo. Also, we have Jai Clark, 36. Don't be too put off by this. So there is a reason behind it. He still went up 16.7k, but again, we need to really contextualize this with Jai Clark from the Cats. Chris Scott, absolute banana. So I know he wants to sort of, you know, expose his youngsters to senior footy progressively, but look at this. We have a look at the time on ground, and over the past couple of weeks, he's played 78%, 77%, which just really isn't good enough. He's not playing the bulk minutes. He's at least missed out on an extra 20 minutes there of game time, which is virtually another quarter. So it's really not good enough. But yeah, it's one of those things that it's frustrating. But yeah, we don't have to play him on field, so it could be worse. It could be worse. But with Jai Clark, his break even, as I said, negative 16 actually, heading into round 10. Could go up another 20k if he scores a 31, but by that stage might hit another wall. So we're hoping for a bit of a spike score like he performed against the D's in round 8. And if he does go up another 20k, he's only going to, you know, push us towards that 70k mark, which again, we don't want to be cashing out someone that's only made 70k. We want them to hit 100k. You know, want to squeeze as many pennies as we can out of these guys. But yeah, I will keep an eye on our bench anyway. It might be nice cover across the buys, even if he does score at 30 odd. Every point counts, obviously, across the buy period as well. So fingers crossed that Chris Scott can give him a bit more of a crack. Kane McAuliffe, not too annoyed with the fact that he hasn't played. Probably should have over the previous couple of weeks, but the Tigs actually went down with quite a few injuries in their game, and I do think that he is going to be brought into the team this coming round. Let me just bring up as to how many injuries they had. They had quite a few, actually. Where are match reports? So I'm just on my phone here, just having a quick squeeze. So they've lost Maurice Rioli, so he had a lower leg injury. Could be like a bit of a broken ankle, broken leg, could be an ACL, who knows. They've got Sam Banks, who's concussed, so both of those guys are going to be out. And then Jack Graham as well with a hamstring that was iced as we saw him on the bench. So you'd think at least McAuliffe is going to make his way back into the team. Probably not perfect timing for me because I much prefer to have at least one sort of floating donut at the moment. But if he's able to play some footy, I think his break even now is pretty negative. Is McAuliffe -7? So he'll start making us money, you would think. So I mean, is what it is. If he ends up playing, it's a bonus. If not, it's not going to hurt us too much. The thing is now as well with Butters coming into my team, it means that I don't really have to rely on looping guys off the bench in the midfield. So probably, I guess looking at it from that respect and talking it through, it's better if McAuliffe plays than if he doesn't, because, I won't really need to loop any players off the bench unless they have really an out-of-the-box game, which, you'd obviously back in these primos that I have on field at the moment. Let's move into the ruck. So Maxi Gawn, 111. A lot of people had the VC on him. Has struggled in recent times against the Baggers, my team, and that was part of the reason why I opted not to put the VC on him, but it is what it is anyway. But it didn't really mean much to me because, as you can see, I've put the VC on Nick Martin because there was no one else at that point that I could have sort of used it on. Went for a flyer there. Obviously, ideally, would have loved to have gone Bont into Dacos, but as I said earlier, couldn't really do it with the Will Graham, my loophole option, playing at the exact same time as Bont was playing. So, thank you again, AFL, for your dumbass fixturing. Spoke about Naismith as well. He was out of the side. You might actually find that he comes back into the team. Who knows? Maybe not. But, with the Tigs, they struggled massively. Scored a 42. They need some more firepower up forward, and they're just not getting it done. Obviously, getting beat in the midfield as well. But, to get done for as much as they did, 42 to 133 is, they'll need to swing some changes, and Naismith may come back in. And hopefully for those of us that held, he might eke out a bit more coin for us. Bit of a bonus cash cow, I think, more than anything. Has a break-even of 11. And if you can score a 76, this is according to SuperCoach Plus, he can actually make us 30k. And over the next few weeks, if he can actually average a 76, which he probably won't if he's playing predominantly up forward and, relief ruck, he will actually make us 160k, so that would be the dream, but it's more of a luxury at this stage. As you can see, obviously Jordan Sweet, he was a sweet donut on the weekend, break even at -71, so hopefully he comes back into the team, which he should, and if he can score an 86 against the Hawks this coming round, according to SuperCoach Plus, he'll go up 72k, so it will be very, very juicy. Into the forward line to round us out, so Isaac Heaney ended up scoring a 118, so back to those sort of nice semi-captainable, that's not even a word, but I'll say it, a score. And he went down 7.7k, still at the 631.6k mark. So, I mean, if you want to bring him in and you don't have a primo up forward, get him in because, as you can see, his lowest score is 98 across the course of the season. So going great guns. Next up, we have Semi Flanders, 108. Another guy who hasn't actually dropped below 100 for the season, much like Zachy Merritt, or Zachariah, as we like to call him. And scored a 108 in the weekend against North. Would have liked to have seen him score a bit more against poultry opposition, but then again, only scored the 105 against West Coast 2 weeks prior to that. So, as long as he keeps busting out these nice, consistent scores, we'll be very, very happy. Luke Jackson ended up manning the ruck without Sean Darcy Hodidor / Shrek, as we refer to him as. And of course, for those people tuning in to not knowing who Hodor is, I think some people were asking me on the live stream the other week. Game of Thrones. He's the other character in Game of Thrones because he looks like him. Big lumbering man, big Hulk, big giant. And yeah, Jackson only scored an 89. It would have been nice to see him score a little bit more. His hitouts were 12, so not really up there. Actually, let's have a quick look as to the number of minutes that he shared, percentage in the ruck for ruck contests. Because I am interested to see what the breakdown was. Yeah, so it's 78%, so that kind of is in line with what he's had previously without Darcy in the side. So, yeah, I guess just with Grundy, quality opposition ruckman to come up against, big ask for him. So, yeah, but either way, 20 disposals, 12 hitouts, 2 marks, ended up scoring the 89. So kind of along the lines of what he's been scoring ever since round 3, really. And yeah, even those weeks where he was the, more forward in round 7 and round 8, he still scored a 76 and 86. And that kind of goes back to that point that I've been making in previous weeks that Jackson to me is a keeper. There's no real quality in the forward line, so don't even think about trading him out because there's other guys equivalent that wouldn't be able to have the consistency that he has and the high sort of floor. It looks as though his floor's around about 80 odd, which, you definitely can't sneeze at. And at the moment, he's actually ranked as the 4th highest forward in terms of points. So yeah, he's someone that you want in your team, and he's going to be a top 6 forward, as you can see. Next up, we have Harley Reid. He was my lowest scorer for the round, as I spoke of earlier in this chat. 59, just, yeah, I mean, he's going to kind of punch out these scores, going to be ebbing and flowing. Big score one week, down the next. I think for me, he's had 2 back-to-back 59 scores. And yes, he's had that big out-of-the-box game against Freo, 147, looked absolutely elite. That will be the future of Harley Reid when he does get that consistency in his game. But I think with these other scores that we've seen, aside from really 3 scores, 91, 108, and 147, he scored 59, 59, 54, 63, and a 78. All these scores aren't really from, what you'd expect from someone that's going to finish as a top 6 forward. So I'm kind of on the opinion now that I don't think he's going to be a top 6 forward unless he turns things around and has a bit more consistency in his game. But, you can't really ask that much of a relative rookie in his first year, despite the fact that he is obviously quality. So, yeah, up to you if you want to trade him. I think he's in my plans at the moment. In terms of other guys that still have money to make, Reid does now have a break-even, which is quite high, of 134. And even if he scores a 93, which is what SuperCoach Plus are projecting him to against the Ds, he's still going to drop 18.9k. So in terms of being a nice little cash cow, he's made us well and above what we were hoping for, to the tune of 235.9k profit. So you'll take that and run to the bank with that to cash him in. So You've done us proud, Harley, but I think in terms of my team, I'm going to bid you farewell, and no doubt we will reunite in seasons to come. To round us out on field in the forward line, we have Darcy Wilson, another massive score at 90. By his standards, he is just going from strength to strength, this bloke. Went up another 52.6k, has eclipsed 254.7k in total profit, and his break-even heading into round 10 is a low 3. So yeah, in his previous 3 weeks, he's gone 88, 126, and a 90. Obviously helps that he's faced North Melbourne and Hawthorn over the previous couple of weeks, but he is someone that we can have confidence in playing on field, and I think he's at that high ownership now, 64.5%, that, if anyone owns him, you're going to be playing him on field. So in terms of that, you're going to be able to, enjoy the high scores. And if he does end up eking out a bit of a lowish one, just know that it's going to be affecting you and 64.5% of the competition at the moment, unless people are trading him or upgrading him this week, which I probably wouldn't, as I said, with that low break even. Could eclipse and push towards that sort of 420 mark potentially if he can score an 80 odd. So he is an absolute gun. Another gun who, again, I spoke of earlier in the episode when we're talking about matchups. Have a look at the meme that we've put out on our Twitter. Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and it was virtually just me in last week's episode. I was talking about Sam Darcy. In terms of facing Richmond, Richmond gave up the second most points to opposition forwards, key forwards and general forwards, and I was predicting that he was going to have a really, really big spike game. The big thing as well, which gave me that confidence, is the fact that he's scored some spike games in the past: 109, 84, 82, 88. So those are 4 of his first 7 games leading up to the weekend, where he actually had some pretty nice scores of 80 plus. And yeah, I was projecting that he was going to have a big game, which he did on the weekend. 113, kicked a career high 4 goals, 8 hitouts, 14 disposals, and 7 marks. The big part of his game is his marking. The marking in his game is so strong. And of course, the hitouts are just an absolute bonus, and then goals on top of that as well. So yeah, he went up 32.5k. There were quite a few people that actually opted to trade him out. The SuperCoach app is not working on me now, but I'll see if it opened back up, and if you can show me what his ownership was. So his ownership actually dropped 6.8%. On the previous week. So there were people jumping off. Hopefully you listened to our episode last week, and what I spoke about in terms of exploiting matchups with opposition teams that they're facing. That was definitely one for Sam Darcy. So he's now re-energized his cash generation. He was facing actually dropping some points. I think his break-even was only 40 odd from memory. Obviously smashed that, and he went up 32.5k, and means that his break-even is 36 coming into this weekend. So again, could go up another 20k at least if he can score around about that 80 odd that he has been able to over past weeks. In total, he's gone up 223.5k in price. So well and truly another really, really nice cash cow that has helped us across the journey. On the bench to round us out, Riley Garcia, 84, which is just out of the box. And super happy that I jumped on him instead of Rogers. Hopefully you followed our lead, got Garcia instead of Rogers, as I spoke about with Garcia, with Waitman being out of the side, and Riley West as well. It helped him in terms of getting that real opportunity the previous week. This week, Riley West came back in. Despite that, Garcia kept his spot, and not only that, scored quite well, as you can see, 84. His stats were 19 disposals, 3 marks, 3 tackles, and 2 goals too. So those are the first 2 goals that he's kicked for the season for the Dogs, and went up 48.6k. So has gone up already 113.2k across his first 4 games, or his first 2 price rises. So yeah, has a nice little break even as well. If we scroll down, -14 heading into round 10, and if you can score 65, which is he's averaging at the moment 74, but if you can score 65, he will go up 36.4k, and if you can score around about that over the next 2 to 3 weeks, he could go up at least another 70 to 80k and push towards that 200k mark. So again, as I said, hopefully you followed our lead and jumped on him instead of Rogers. Then Darcy Jones, obviously the helmeted one, the bloke that is an absolute gun. Had a bit of a down week. You can't expect him to have a big score every single week. Scored a 38. Still went up 51.7k in his first price rise, and has a -8 break-even heading into round 10. He scored 75 and 70 in his first 2 games, but if you can score a 49 over the next few weeks, he will push up another 50k and at least make us 100k on the nose. So really, really happy with that also. So ladies and gents, let's roll into the juicy part of this chat as always, which is the trades. So I spoke about it already. In terms of the guys that I want to get rid of, there's a lot of these cash cows that aren't yet ready to be culled or cashed in this case, aside from Will Graham, who was dropped on the weekend, could make his way back into the side, has a break-even that's still low of 12. But if you're looking at other guys that have got on the bench that are still making cash, guys that are sort of playing cash cows, don't really want to cash them in yet. Obviously, Darcy Jones, -8. Riley Garcia, -14 break-even. McAuliffe should make his way back into the Tigers side, -7. Jai Clark, -16. Hugo Garcia, 1. Zach Reed will still make us money, and provide a little bit of cash down and a bit of coverage as well. But as it is, he's at his starting price, so don't really need to get rid of him. But Will Graham has a break even of 12. Don't know if he's going to come back into the Gold Coast lineup, obviously after a win on the weekend against the struggling North. So yeah, he is someone that is in the gun. So he is going out for me. He's made us enough cash as we can hope for as well. Good old Graham. So with the money in the bank, and I talk about trade cadence as well. So money in the bank heading into this week is 146.9. This is crucial every single week, and I'll speak about it in a bit more detail as I go into bringing in Butters and what I'm looking to do after I bring in Butters. So I want to sort of continue this trade cadence going and at least having some money in the bank to then put towards one of my next 2 trades in the following week. And then the second trade, I will, obviously use the first trade to downgrade to a rookie, get that cash, put it on top of the money that I've got in the bank already. Then I'll grab all that money, put it on top of the second trade in order to upgrade to a genuine primo. So that's what I'm talking about with trade cadence and having money left over in the bank. So there we have it. So in terms of Graham, he goes out. Let's have a quick look in terms of who we have that we could bring in on the bubble. So we'll scroll down. Lockie Sullivan's one for the Pies. Another one is Bruce Revel, who looks the goods really. He's a mid forward. That's sort of another thing to factor in. Brisbane have had quite a few injuries, as we know, over recent weeks. So that bodes well for his job security, we'd assume. Scored a 55 on the weekend. Lockie Sullivan scored a 75. And both of these guys as well, mind you, they're priced at 102.4k, so bottom priced as well, which is good to see. But in terms of separating these guys, we want to really have a close look at, first and foremost, I think because we're heading almost to the halfway point of the season, heading into the buys where buy cover is crucial. So when it comes to these guys, yes, it'd be nice to get on the player that's going to make us the most money, as always, yes. But job security is paramount. We don't want to be getting a guy that's going to, play another couple of weeks, maybe make us, 60, 70k or thereabouts, and then not play across the buys, because we need to be targeting guys that are going to allow us to utilize their scoring on field, because we need all the bench cover that we can get, especially in rounds 14 and 15 during those buy rounds where we're going to be absolutely obliterated and struggling to field 18 players. So Lockie Sullivan, negative break even of negative 92, whereas Bruce Revel has a negative 56 break even. Lockie Sullivan, the one thing with him and his job security is, yes, there's a couple of players that the Pies have out of their side, and they've brought in some youngsters over the past couple of weeks, but the 2 major ones are obviously Jordan De Goey and Tom Mitchell. There's obviously also as well Jamie Elliott, but there've been a few outs as well this week. There's been Jeremy Howe, the Bytel as well, who made his debut for the Pies. I think he was concussed, and I think there was another player as well. So it might actually bode well for Lockie Sullivan as well in terms of his job security. But I think for me, Bruce Revel with this mid-forward DPP eligibility really is going to help me. And the reason for it being, so obviously we've clicked trade on Will Graham. We're going to switch Closey into defence in order to obviously bring in one of these 2 rookies, either being Sullivan or bringing in Juicy Brucey, Revel, as we'll call him, the sandwich press, good old Breville. Yeah, I think for me, as you can see here, we need to sort of work out who's going to give us as much leverage as we can and coverage across the season. So I think potentially Bruce Revel might have a bit more job security at a guess. Let's have a quick look as well in terms of the fixture that's coming up. And I think the Pies, do they have an early game? They play the 3rd game of the round. So, and when did Brisbane play? They play late Saturday. The Pies, the first game on Saturday. So we'll be able to tell, if we're worried about one of these 2 guys being a starting sub, at least with Sullivan, with the Pies playing the first game on Saturday, we could easily just wait until then to see if he's named sub. If you want to sort of jump on either of these guys based upon if they're, they avoid being a starting sub, maybe you could use that as separation. But I think with me, as I said, good old Breville, he is going to be crucial for me. So I'll bring Revel into my side for the time being, and you'll see the reason why. So in terms of other guys I'm looking to trade, obviously, as I said, I want to get Butters into my team. Harley Reid is that man. Hit the wall. He's done all he can to make as much cash as we can, and also, eke out a couple of nice scores across the journey as well. So we bid you farewell, Harley Reid. Leaves us with cash at the moment to spend, 765.5k, so we can really get anyone into our team, but Butters is the man to round out our midfield. And what we need to do, obviously using Harley Reid, who was in the forward line, we need to switch someone from the midfield into Harley Reid's old spot in the forward line. So we could either do it with Revel or Garcia. If I was to bring Sullivan into my team instead of Revel and swinging Garcia into the forward line, it would mean we have no mid-forward DPP in the midfield in order to swing if we need to, which again is ever so crucial across the bye periods as well. So we've done that. We've got Revel in our team. We've shifted Garcia into the forward line. Let's have a look at Butters. So where is he? Oh, he's right at third from the top in terms of high scorers. Bring him in, big fella. Actually went down $200. He had a pretty big break even as well, and I was hoping for Zach Butters to drop a bit in coin. Didn't happen. Much like Ryan, the annoyance actually busted at that 197 and eclipsed his 160 break even or whatever it was, and actually went up in price. So could have been worse with Butters, but so Butters comes into our team, and we'll go complete trades and confirm that. Now, as you can see here, obviously going into round 10, before these trades, you would have remembered my bank, my salary was 146, I think. Was it from memory? I think it was 146. Even after going one downgrade, one upgrade, getting in Butters, who's the third highest scorer in the midfield, and fifth overall, mind you, we've still got 144.3k in the bank for next week for our two trades. So we haven't really had to rely on boosts across the previous 2 to 3 weeks, actually across the previous 2 weeks, including this one. Obviously, we brought in Zach Merritt with our last boost to go 2 down, 1 up. But in doing that, we've been able to allow ourselves to have money in the bank over the previous couple of weeks, despite having just two trades, 1 downgrade, 1 upgrade. We can continue that trade cadence. Whereas if you didn't have money in the bank, you'd have to go 2 downgrades on a given week to then go 1 upgrade the week after. That obviously ruins you in terms of, other teams being able to go with this trade cadence. If they've done it correctly, they've been able to bring in a primo every single week. Whereas if you didn't manage your funds well enough and have money in the bank for the following week to then do an upgrade, you would be going 2 down, whilst the other teams would be going 1 down, 1 up, and then they would have an extra primo ahead of you. So hopefully that does make sense as to, I guess, the reasoning why I've done this, planning, budgeting, everything else. So it is ever so crucial. And what it does mean here, let's bring Butters on field, obviously. As you can see here, it rounds us out. Our defense is complete, midfield complete. I am super happy at this. Looking at this is pants off territory, 100% hands down. So from here on out, as you can see, we have obviously R2 we need to fix. Obviously when Sweet maxes out in price, we will aim to upgrade him to English. So that's one position we're looking to upgrade. Then in the forward line, it's not ideal, but as we know, the forward line is an absolute shit show. We've got Heaney, Flanders, Jackson as keepers. Then we have Wilson, Sam Darcy, and one of the Garcia boys, either Hugo or Riley Garcia. And obviously those are 3 positions as well that we want to fill with primos. So we have Sweet's position at R2. We have Wilson's position at F4, Darcy's position at F5, and Garcia's position at F6. So that's 4 positions we just need to fill now with primos across the next few weeks to give us a finished side. We've got 17 trades in the bank as well, 144.3k in the bank. And we are in a very, very good position, and I'm super happy with where we're at the moment. Probably ahead of schedule, really, in terms of trying to complete my side up until now. So to have half of my side at least, 2 of the 4 positions complete, we are very, very happy. we're a happy camper. We've said that a lot across this episode, but for good reason, as you can see. So rounding us out, for those people tuning in to the audio podcast, in defence, we've got Ryan, Dacos, Nick Martin, Sheasel, Stewart, and Wangan and Miller. In the midfield, we have the big dogs, Sarong, Bont, Merritt, Butters, Tookie Miller, Sammy Walsh, Steele, and Tom Green. So, geez, I know pants were being unbuckled then when you were listening to that. So, but just spare a thought for those people tuning into YouTube and visually seeing this. It is next level. But we are just headed towards the moon. So what we're going to be doing from here as well, we will have a quick look at captains and vice captains. There's quite a few players to roll through. We won't go into all of them in depth. We will, of course, do that in our full episode proper. So look out for that and make sure you tune into that for I Am the Captain Now segment, where we will go into a little bit more depth. But probably from the get-go, just have a look at the fixture. We've got all the dogs up against the Giants, so Bont maybe, but if you have any Brisbane Lions players up against Richmond, that's another one. St Kilda up against Freo, and we spoke about Luke Ryan's dominance against opposition forwards, just playing as a loose man, and St Kilda giving up bulk points to opposition defenders. That speaks to itself, I think, and that for me is a straight out VC lock and load. Outside of that, we have Essendon up against North Melbourne. We're talking the likes of Zerrett. We're talking about Parrish. These two guys, for me, Merritt is someone that I am super, super keen on. Scored 140, 137 and a 96 over his previous 3 against North. I'd be happy enough with Zerrett as captain. We also have Port Adelaide up against the Hawks, so could even use Butters as well, potentially. How's he scored against the Hawks in recent times? 88, 136 and a 105. This is Adelaide Oval as well. Averages 95.8 against the Hawks. So, yeah, he's definitely another one. West Coast against the D's. So if you got a Petrarca potentially, or a Oliver, wouldn't really have too much confidence in that. Heaney plays Carlton. Normally tells us up from memory as well. Plays the early game. Let's have a quick look at his stats. 128, 94 and 97. So thereabouts. Averages 95.3. Nicky Martin up against North. So let's have a quick look as well. We'll go across the DFS Australia ever so quickly. Check out defence v position. I don't know if these have been updated as yet from the weekend. Actually, yes, I think they have been, because Richmond have now progressed from being the second best team to score against if you're an opposition forward to first overall. So you can thank good old Sam Darcy, Norton and the like for that. So it does mean North Melbourne for defence. There's a positive correlation, but nothing major. And then in the midfield for North, there's a little bit of a positive correlation. Nothing major again. The Cats give up a few points to opposition inside mids. They actually give up the third most. So they're facing Gold Coast, so you could go for a Tookie Miller potentially. What did I say? Butters up against Hawthorn. The Hawks have a positive correlation, nothing crazy. Hopefully Sweet comes back in, because the Hawks actually give up the third most points to opposition rucks, which would be very, very nice, as you saw on the weekend with Marshall. But yeah, so on and so forth. And what's the other one? Collingwood up against Adelaide, Dacos potentially. Yeah, they're pretty negative across the board, the Crows. But yeah, there's a few options there. Obviously, I'm going to go for, I think at this stage, Lukey Ryan with the VC and Zachy Merritt with the 117 projected against the North Melbourne. I'm projecting that he's actually going to score 130 plus against North. But I'll be very, very tempted also as well to go for Butters. But I think we're going to roll the dice on Lukey Ryan. St Kilda, let's have a quick look at them. Are they still giving up? Yeah, bulk points to opposition defenders. Designated kickers, they're still number one, and general defenders still number one, almost double the next sort of worst team that concedes the most points to opposition defenders. So, yeah, looking good there. That's pretty much it, I think, for VC and C. Let's have a quick look, round things out in terms of our plans going forward for next week. We haven't really thought too much about that as yet. We're just stoked that we've brought Ryan and Butters in, as we have planned over the previous couple of weeks. Let's have a quick look at, before we do that, round things out with the plan, we'll have a look at our leagues for those people that were keen to have a look at our cash league. If you are in these, if you're one of the 20 people, or sorry, 18, because you're facing Liam and myself, I've gone ahead. Again, I'm still top of the table in Cash League 1. Cash League 2, I narrowly lost, would you believe it, by 1 point. Albeit, of course, I had a 0, but I have dropped down to 6 from 4th spot. And that is the state of play there. Let's have a quick look at the ladder for the SuperCoach Edge Open League. And let's see if Dow and Ever is still the overall leader and the leader of, obviously, our Legends Cup as well. If SuperCoach wants to load. Jeez, it's being as slow as anything. Yes, he has kept the Iron Throne, is Dow and Ever. Sitting pretty there. So, yeah, he's going to take some chasing, I think. But best of luck, Dow and Ever. And let us know as well in the comments if you are tuning in via YouTube or the like, how you are planning wise, and just give us a shout out, give us a wave, jump to our Discord, and we'd love to pick your brain and follow your journey, Joe that is, with his team Dow or Never. Let us go back. Alrighty, so that's our team. In terms of what we're looking to do from here on out, considering we have a full list of primos across defense and the midfield, we're not too worried about the midfield as such yet. Obviously, with Revel, that I didn't kind of mention, is with that DPP as well as a forward mid, it does allow that activation to remain, despite the fact that I have had to move Hugo Garcia from the midfield into the forward line, him being a mid forward, obviously, as well. So that is good. In defense, I've got Closey, and some people probably will be fielding him at the moment. Hopefully, Zachary doesn't come back in yet, because I would be keen to use him potentially with Closey on the bench as a bit of a loop option, put the emergency on him. Gold Coast plays first up, and yeah, if he goes bananas, I would be happy to roll the dice on benching a Wangan and Miller, albeit probably not this week. Oh, no, probably against Freo, yeah, potentially. Because did Freo give up points? Oh, there's a positive correlation there, but yeah, probably that's the player I'd bench of the primos that I've got in defense, and hopefully Jordan Sweet as well. Obviously makes a return back to Port's number 1 ruck mantle. And then in the forward line as well, we're looking at we have to roll the roulette wheel, the rookie roulette wheel, which we've been doing in recent weeks, with Heaney, Flanders, and Jackson. Obviously, the furniture in our forwards. And Wilson, Darcy, and Garcia are the guys that we sort of hanging our hat on, and scoring well enough from week to week. I have to sort of choose. I'm comfortable with Wilson and Darcy, especially considering the high ownership and the fact that those owners are more than likely going to be fielding them. So that kind of offsets any difference in risk. The big one here is F6. Do I roll with a Hugo Garcia, or do I roll with a Riley Garcia? Probably a Riley Garcia at this stage. He's shown that he's got a bit of a higher floor compared to Hugo. But yeah, that probably will be a week-to-week proposition until I'm able to get another genuine primo in the forward line. So with the Dogs, they play in the 4th game. St Kilda play in the 6th game. I don't have any options here for looping unless Darcy Jones ends up getting a bit of a rest. Hopefully not. But yeah, wouldn't be the end of the world if he did get a bit of a rest, because it would allow me to at least loop between the Garcias and pick which of those two I want to field, either by looping or just straight out fielding if the loop looks ordinary. I think that's about it, ladies and gents. There's nothing else really for me to cover off here. Apologies if I have forgotten anything. Let us know what your thoughts are with your own plans. As I said, I could probably get into the plans for me heading into next week, but even then, I don't even know what I'm going to be doing. I'll need to sort of digest it a bit more. I can show you my watch list here if SuperCoach wants to really show it, which it's not, because it's slow as anything. It's just not working. Sorry, but yeah, those guys on my watch list, gone through it in previous weeks. Those are the guys that I'm kind of targeting. Bolton's dropped in price a fair bit. Zorko's starting to go up in price again. He's probably one that I'd be looking at. But again, I'm so worried about his fitness, and so on and so forth. Yeah, watch list just isn't opening, unfortunately. But yeah, I'll have to do it another time. But here we go. It is showing up now. So yeah, there's a few guys that kind of I could get rid of pretty much all these midfielders that I've got on my watch list now, but I'll keep them there just for the sake of if I need to do a sideways trade. Again, the SuperCoach is just switching between pages by itself. English 87, so that, as I said, that kind of helped me as well, because it does mean that he should loiter around about this mark that he's at the moment, 616k. Hopefully he doesn't go bananas again, because I would love for Sweet to sort of bridge that gap a bit quicker to bring him in. Everyone else can get rid of Butters out of the watch list because he's in my team. Yeah, the forwards are probably, and obviously English are the ones I need to look at now. Dylan Moore I'd love to have in my team, but only scored a 76, and I think he's going to kind of fluctuate from week to week. McRae I can probably wait on. He dropped 14.9k. Zorko, as I said, he's gone up 6.8k. And Shea Bolton as well has gone down a fair bit. And SuperCoach just continues flicking between pages randomly. It is an annoyance. So I'll leave things there, and yeah, we'll check in probably into the episode proper to follow this week. Might delve into what I'm thinking of doing. At this stage, unsure if Liam can make it the episode again. He's been absolutely slammed with work. He is okay, but yeah, he's just been slammed with work. So might look to get another guest spot open for someone, for another content creator. So we'll see if we can nab. We'll throw the fishing line out there. And yeah, if Liam's unable to make it, we will hopefully land a big fish. Obviously, last week we ended up having STS SuperCoach on our episode, and he was absolutely fantastic. And you can see this, if you're watching us on YouTube, it's just flicking across by itself, not even doing anything. The ghost of SuperCoach. Look again, see? Incredible. But anyway, ladies and gents, that is us for this week and this edition of Damo's Team Talk. Let us know, obviously, as well, your own plans, how you performed. Would love to hear you, how you went, and what your thoughts are with my trades, and what you think I should do heading forward from now as well, considering I haven't really given it too much thought. This is probably the one time where I haven't given it too much thought. But 144.3k in the bank. The world's my oyster. The SuperCoach world is my oyster. So yeah, let us know. But that is that, ladies and gents. Hopefully you had a great weekend, and both SuperCoach and non-SuperCoach wise as well. And we'll catch you in the episode proper for this week. So we'll catch you then. All the best. We'll see you next time. Cheers.